Bo's he's a credible character. The kid looks good. So, but he fought a bum. So who knows?
I'm just gonna get out there and say it. I am going vegan.
Let's call Meat Boys episode 213. Shout out to all the maggot Meat Boys out there. It's UFC Iowa. But before we touch on these breakdowns for this week, Meat Boy, last week was UFC Kansas City. And as always, if you're in a rush, you're just looking for the Iowa locks, the corn fed beef, then just head straight to the comments. Look for the timestamps. But last week, Meat Boy, UFC Kansas City, you went 2-4 overall. Your boy went 3-3. Let's talk about the L of a Meatlock because Michel de Maledor Pereira. What do you make of that? Because I don't want to get too triggered. I don't want to get too animated, but it was quite the discouraging performance from us as the Michel backers, as the Michel Meatlock selectors. So, what did you make of the Elva Meatlock last week? Is a bus back, or is Michel truly that bad?
Yeah, honestly, I think Abus is not back. I think De Maledor honestly fumbled. It looked like he threw the fight. He fought worse than we've ever seen him. He wasn't explosive. He was sluggish, slow. It was like either he just didn't train, didn't work out, didn't even care, or he got paid off. I don't know. It almost seemed like he got paid off to like do his dance, burn all of his energy, and then suck. Like this is a Boone Stonks 2.0 repeat, and it was like, bro, what are you doing? Are you good? Um, like how do you go from being such a top prospect to looking like the worst fighter on the roster? I don't know. Very weird, very suspicious in my opinion.
It was truly bizarre, truly suspicious. Even the dance where, oftentimes he comes out and steals the show with his dance moves. I thought the dance was pretty lackluster as well. Everything start to finish from the dance to the judge's verdict was uninspiring, was truly pathetic. And I don't toss that word out there a lot, but it was a really bad performance. So we missed that one. We'll wipe the dirt off and move forward this week with a different meat lock. But beyond that, we both missed Nicholas Dalby. He got absolutely slept by Randy Rude Brown. It was the first time that Dalby's been flatlined like that. So you had even made the point, it's whether it's Volkanovski a couple months ago, uh, your chin does go at some point, and Dalby's definitely went. But good stuff for Randy Brown, who now finds himself ranked. You picked Prates in the main event. I had Ian Gary. I thought Ian Gary looked great in that one. But you missed Muniz and I missed Lionheart. So both of us went with a very YOLO upside dog that did not work out. Onama, however, we were both all over. So did you make anything of any of those fights? Did you want to talk about Ian Gary versus Prates specifically? What were your final thoughts on Kansas City overall as a card?
Yeah, no, Kansas City, decent card, and yeah, I mean, Ian Gary's the real deal. I mean, I gotta stop bagging him. Protest is no joke, or Protest is a bum. I'm not too sure, but I would like to think that Protest is a real deal, and Ian just a little more sizzled and grizzled. And maybe Protest will get there, but it was pretty clear not last weekend. But yeah, no, that was a great fight. Um, I mean, you would think the Fighting Nerds would do more, to be honest. It was a little upsetting, to be honest. It was like, dang, he's only that good? Like, wow. Or how good is Ian Gary? That's the question. And did he have an off night versus Shavkat? Who knows? I'm very
Yeah,
curious to see them run that back.
two fair questions for sure. And, it was the Nerds' first loss, right? So the Nerds have been doing literally everything right. What seemed to me was Carlos Prates in the 5 round situation. It just took him too long to wake up, right? I mean, he gave up those first 2 rounds and as a result, basically had to get himself a finish down the stretch and was unable to do so. So you wonder if this 5 round experience and the fact that he really fumbled those first 10 minutes will be advantageous for him moving forward in the UFC because he finished great, right? The 4th round, he looked great. 5th round, he almost got that finish. So it's not like it was a complete whitewashing start to finish. I mean, there were moments in that 5th round where it looked like Ian Gary was about to be put out by strikes, and Prates really came on late. It was just too little too late. So I don't think Prates is a bum by any stretch. I think he will be back. I did see someone comment, though, saying he's kind of the Cheeto Vera of the 170 division, and I kind of buy that. I wonder what his ceiling is, but I do think he can still beat a lot of guys. Ian Gary, however, he might be champ. I think this kid is that good, and he really delivered, in my opinion. And the fact that he basically booked his own selection as the backup fighter for next week's title shot, he's really calling his own shots and doing a lot of Conor McGregor-like things. And I know a lot of people like to draw those parallels. It's a brash Irishman, but he's doing some similar things, right? He's saying what he's going to do, and he's going out and doing it. So I think the fans are going to start to come around to Ian Gary. I think a lot already have, and with performances like the ones from last week, it makes sense to me. But any last thoughts, Meat Boy, on Kansas City, or you ready to hop into the cornfield?
No, yeah, Ian Gary, he's definitely talking the talk and he's walking the walk. So there are some similarities there, but let's get to the beef in the cornfield.
Yeah, it's beef stirred in the stew nonetheless. Swap us through, Meat Boy. It's the Meatlock. Obviously, you see the text. We got to get back on track from last week's Michel Demoledor fumble Ruski, and this week it's Santiago Ponzinibbio taking on Daniel Rodriguez, aka D-Rod, and it's a true pick'em. But we think in this, for lack of a better term, bum versus bum fight, Ponzinibbio should be the better bum. He should be able to take out D-Rod, and while both of these guys you can argue are aging fighters that are seeing their last leg in the UFC. Ponzinibbio seems to have more life at this point in their career, and if you're getting pick'em value against a fighter like D-Rod, who hasn't won a fight in a long time, to me that seems decent enough for a dink dog meatlock. So, what are your thoughts on this meatlock? How do you think Santiago Ponzinibbio gets this one done over D-Rod, and is it an early finish?
Yeah, D-Rod just hasn't been looking good. He's going all downhill. While Ponzinibbio, he's up and down, but he's more consistent than D-Rod in current times, in my opinion. So I think Ponzinibbio is going to knock out D-Rod, totally outclass him. If he goes to the ground, well, that's an easy win for him. But stays on the feet, I still think that's an easy win for him, to be honest. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a slobber knocker. I think it's gonna be a great fight, but I think a dominant one by Ponzinibbio.
Yeah, for sure. And it was a good thing to see him get that recent finish over Carlston Harris in a fight where he was a dog in, right? And there were some dangerous moments early, but ultimately he got that third round beautiful finish over Carlston Harris. And he had rebounded from two straight L's, right? One was decisive against Kevin Holland. The other, however, was a very close, controversial split decision to the Kung Fu Panda Muslim Salikov. But D-Rod, he too is coming up a recent win, so you have to give him that credit. But he had lost three straight, and that recent win that I'm referencing was another close, controversial split decision over Alex Morono. So it's one of those things that D-Rod at his peak versus Santiago at his peak, if you can even say neither either guys are even at their peak currently, Ponzinibbio should have a little bit more to offer than D-Rod for sure. So if we look at Tapology, Meat Boy, the odds makers are, excuse me, the Tapology Timmies are overwhelmingly going with Ponzinibbio, 69% going with the Argentine Dagger, 31% going with Rodriguez. There's a lot of beige on both sides, though. Do you see a world where perhaps this fight does go the distance, or is it Ponzinibbio by finish? And if so, is it first, second, third round? Where do you see it?
Yeah, if Ponzinibbio's done, I think it's gonna happen the first or second round. I think it's gonna happen pretty early. If it doesn't, then I don't know. D-Rod, he's pretty tough. So if it goes to the third round, it wouldn't surprise me if it just goes to decision. But I think it'll end first or second round.
Yeah, I could see either way for sure. But to your point again, D-Rod is tough. There's no shortage of grit in that guy. There just is a shortage in talent. So I'm gonna go Ponzinibbio by decision. Ultimately, though, we'll keep it simple. Throw it on an easy 110 to net 100. Get us back on track. Keep us well within the green as the meatlock lives. But it's another meatlock, and Ponzinibbio is the guy to do it. Any last thoughts on this one? Or are you ready to swap us through?
No, let's swap it through.
Move us through then, because suddenly out of nowhere it's the return of Jeremy Stevens, aka Jeremy Stiffus, as he takes on Mason Jones. And this is a funny fight because if you remember, Jeremy Stevens retired, right? We thought that this guy was out of the UFC. Donzo Balonzo off to different things. He goes to the Global Fight Network. Global Fight Network goes under before it ever begins, and now suddenly the UFC says, "Hey, Jeremy Stevens, we kind of need you as a sacrificial lamb to Mason Jones, who is a guy that had a previous UFC tenure, didn't have a lot of success, but has now spent the last few years in alternative promotions. And similar to the Brandon Moreno story or the story you see from other guys in the UFC, came into the promotion too young, gets sent away to a different promotion to improve, goes on a fat win streak. Yusuf Salal is another example. And now this second round, this Damon Jackson round two, is where they're actually going to shine. So the UFC obviously is thinking that Mason Jones is now officially ready for this moment. They're taking Jeremy Stevens off the street as a can. Do you, however, think Jeremy Stevens at plus 425, with those YOLO punches, with the hardest hitting power in the division, Is he going to be an upset threat for Mason Jones, or is the UFC, as they often are, going to be right about this being another setup opportunity for a new hype beast to destroy a can?
Yeah, honestly, I think this is a hype beast to destroy Can. I mean, they let Stiffus go for a reason. They didn't try to re-sign him or beg him to come back, but now he's out of a job. So then they said, "Oh, hey, by the way, buddy, I got you. I'll do you a favor, but actually, you're doing us a favor because you're gonna get knocked out by this new fresh meat in the division."
Yeah, I mean, you got to believe that that's what the plan is, right? Because again, if you look at what Mason Jones has done since he left the promotion in 2022, it's 4 straight wins, 3 of them beautiful finishes. He's really dominating over in Cage Warriors. And when you kind of back up and look at his first UFC tenure, it really all wasn't that bad, right? He lost his first fight to Mike Davis. Mike Davis is a tough guy in the division, doesn't fight a lot, is often injured, but when he does fight, he usually wins. He had a no contest to Alan Patrick, but that was a strange one that he was dominating. And his only loss besides Mike Davis, a peak Mike Davis, was to Ludovic Klein. And Ludovic Klein is arguably a top 15 guy in the division. And if you look at the win he got in between the Ludovic loss and the Mike Davis loss, he took out David Obamna, who looked amazing last week over Giga. So Mason Jones didn't really have that bad of a first UFC spell. Now, coupled with the fact he's won 4 straight, and now coupled with the fact that you're getting a 38-year-old Stiffus as your return opponent, this to me seems like a bad opportunity for Jeremy Stevens. But if you think, I mean, what do you think? Do you think this fight could be close at all? Are you taking Stevens? Are you taking the Dragon? How does this fight play out?
Yeah, no, I mean, I definitely can't take the Stiffens. I mean, he is the hardest hitting 145er. He might get a knockout, but the odd discrepancy kind of just has it all. I think this is going to be, you know, a one-sided mauling of the new young hungry kid versus the old vet that is, leveling up his EQ levels on day-to-day basis. So I just don't know if Stiffus is the guy anymore like he used to be. If he ever was one, I'm not sure. But I just think that this is fresh blood for the old vet, and the old vet is gonna get knocked out and probably get sent to power slap after this. So hate to see it. Stiffus is a legend for the quotes and everything, but this is a one and done MMA fight for the UFC most likely, if I had to guess.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I love that you mentioned the fact that Jeremy Stevens has reached near Thetan level in Choice Center. So it's possible that that could be the difference maker, and that's what sort of gets him over this Mason Jones hump. But to me, that seems like a pipe dream. I think this is Mason Jones' lock. I will, however, be checking out Mason Jones' decision, right? Because it seems like everyone is assuming that Jeremy Stevens will go out here and get absolutely flatlined by the Dragon. I don't know if that's going to be the case. I mean, we have seen him get finished a few times, so I guess it's not the craziest thing in the world, but maybe Jeremy Stevens is able to survive and ultimately lose a decision. But nonetheless, the obvious pick here for sure is Mason Jones. I'm just hesitant to commit to the early finish, but nonetheless, Mason Jones is the pick. Officially, you're going Mason by finish or decision?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Mason by decision. It's either gonna happen first round. If it goes past first round, I just think it's gonna be a decision. Mason doesn't have a crazy record of always knocking out everyone. Stiffus is pretty well known to have a pretty good chin, but he has been slept a few times. Is this guy that powerful? I guess we'll wait and see. But from his track record, it says he does not really have that kind of power. He's definitely not the hardest hitting person in the division. So I think it'll win by decision, dominant fashion, in an absolute beatdown.
Right here, right here. Swap us through, Meat Boy, for sure, because this one's going to be interesting. And again, we both got Mason Jones in the last one. But this next one, Meat Boy, this one's fascinating because it's two hype beasts, both with a lot of untapped potential. And it seems like the winner of this fight will definitely sort of insert themselves into more interesting conversations because I think that by the end of this fight, a lot of people are going to know the name Surrey City or they're going to know the name Cameron Smotherman because these are two Dana White Contender Series hype beasts that are facing off each other in their kind of prime. And I was very impressed with what Surrey City did in his last UFC fight. It was good to see him get the W. And Smotherman was obviously impressive in his last contest as well. So I don't even want to dive too much into the context of both these fighters because they're both young, up and coming, hungry fighters. You taking Smotherman in this one, who Tapology overwhelmingly is backing as a dog, or do you like Surrey City, the Canadian, to continue his win streak?
Yeah, no, I could see the Canadian continue that win streak, to be honest. I don't know. It's a good fight, but I don't know. I think Canada's taking this one home for sure.
Yeah, Cameron Smotherman, we saw him on short notice, right? We just saw him take out Jake Hadley. It was a fight that he stepped in on basically 2 weeks' notice and really kind of dominated Jake Hadley. And it was interesting because Jake Hadley seemingly was back, right? He was coming in off a nice recent win, and people kind of thought that, ooh, this idea of Jake Hadley. I mean, I hate to always reference him, Meat Boy, but at one point, someone that I know described Jake Hadley as a future Charles Oliveira. So the fact that Jake Hadley got absolutely smoked by Smotherman, I think was an impressive win for sure. But we're talking about Surrey City, who also is coming off a nice, impressive win. It was a split decision, but it was against Garrett Armfield, who has a lot of wins in the UFC and is one of the best boxers in the division, believe it or not. So, in this fight, if you are taking the Canadian Surrey City, do you see this fight going the distance? Do you see him being able to pick up one of those elusive finishes of his? Or how does this fight play out if you are, in fact, rolling with Surrey City, who, again, a minority of Tapology is backing?
Yeah, I think if Surrey City gets it done, it could be decision, but I think it's got to be a KO. I think the babyface killer can kind of do anything. Obviously, both these guys are pretty well matched up. They don't really submit people, aka they're not really, you know, doing the jiu-jitsu. This is gonna be a strike battle. They're trying to get KOs or point them out. And so I think Cameron could get a knockout or a point him to death and get the win. But I think Sid of Canada might just get it done. These guys are 135ers. Typically, the smaller guys ain't knocking each other out anyway. I don't think either one of these guys have freak power, so I think this one's just going to go to decision.
Yeah, it could for sure. Surrey City though is a guy who does get a lot of finishes, right? I mean, of the majority of his wins come by KO, so maybe that is due for him. And last time we saw Smotherman get slept, it was early enough and barely even went 1 minute, and that was against Char Lampos Gregorio, who is truly awful. So perhaps Surrey City gets another finish this one. I'm actually gonna go there, Meepo. I think he does finish the babyface killer Cameron Smotherman in this one, so I'll go Surrey City by second round finish. Either way, though, if it's not a finish, I find Surrey City to be a more impressive fighter, and I think he finds a way to get this one done. And I like the odds. I mean, I know Tapology is overwhelmingly backing this, the babyface killer Smotherman, but I think Surrey City is more of a dog. So I'm gonna go with the Canadian this one. You as well, officially, and you're saying by decision.
Yeah, decision.
Let us know if we're sleeping on Smotherman and you like him as a dog. But nonetheless, Meat Boy, swap us through because it's the co-meet and it's the one, truthfully, that I've been most excited to talk to you about. It's Bo Nickel taking on Rene de Ritter. And I was struck by the odds of this one because obviously Bo Nickel is always going to be an overwhelming favorite in most of his fights. But I was a little bit surprised to see him this big of a favorite, minus 340, over de Ritter plus 270, who really has been impressive. I mean, if you're going out there and really making light work of Kevin Holland, then to me, that is an impressive feat because Kevin Holland, we were talking earlier, is a true levels test. He's a very well-rounded fighter, and Rene de Ritter really made light work of Kevin Holland. So I was impressed by that one. He is 34 though, and he's taking on Bo Nickel, who is all the rage. He's undefeated, obviously one of the best wrestlers, if not the best wrestler, not only in the division but in the UFC. So the story of this one is going to be: is Rene de Ritter is he going to be able to deal with the takedowns that Bo Nickel will be offering, and if so, do you like de Ritter to have some success in this fight as the arguably more well-rounded mixed martial artist, or is the specialty that is Bo Nickel just going to be too good in that one area to nullify the well-roundedness over of Rene de Ritter? Who are you taking in this one?
Yeah, this is a crazy fight. This is definitely, in my opinion, gonna be Bo Nickel's hardest bout. I mean, De Ritter is no joke. I mean, we saw his KO power. We've seen his submissions. He is nasty, and Bo's bread and butter is wrestling. So is Bo gonna put himself at risk to maybe get submitted? I don't know. This might be the co-main event where Bo gets exposed and craps his pants. Pulls a full dragon. I don't know. This could absolutely be that. If anyone does it, it's the Dutch Knight. this guy is no joke. I mean, he's only lost twice, and it was KOs. And I don't know, Bo Nickel's not really that striking KO master artist, right? So he's wrestled, ground and pound, and goes for a submission. I just doubt that he's gonna submit a guy that's a submission specialist is all. So I don't know. I think Bo should win this, but it would not surprise me if he gets fully exposed, to be honest.
Yeah, great points. And those two KO losses for DeRitter were against Anatoly Malaikin over in ONE FC. And we know the Spartak Anatoly as a massive guy, 205er, right? So DeRitter now, I think, is in his true weight class at 185 in the UFC. And the kid is good, right? And this one's fascinating, boy. I was very surprised to see how the Tapology odds don't really match the odds because the overwhelming majority is taking RDR in this one. A minority is taking the sizable favorite in Bo Nickel. So, what do you make of the Tapology odds where 56% is rolling with RDR, 44% go with Bo Nickel? And if you look at the RDR backers, solid majority is Copper for the submission. So they think that not only is he going to be able to deal with the wrestling that Bo Nickel's going to be offering, but he's going to find opportunities with his slick jujitsu to ultimately put him down while down there. What do you make on the topology?
Yeah, no, I mean, it's honestly it's kind of surprising to see, uh, but also not really. I mean, people are so casuals where it's like, you really think that Bo Nickel's gonna knock out this guy that's an absolute veteran? You really think that Bo Nickel's even gonna win by decision? Like, he's gotta submit him or ground and pound him, which I don't know if he can do. So then it's like, I'm going to assume that Bo is prepared and knows this guy's probably going to submit him if it hits the mat. So I think Bo's going to try to outbox him. So I'm banking on Bo knows he sucks. Look at the Bear Jew fight. He's leveled up massively and he's going to be better. But I don't know. I'm kind of just riding Bo until proven otherwise. Kind of like the fighting nerd. Maybe I'm jinxing it and Bo's going to absolutely get exposed. But I'm going to ride it till he loses.
Yeah, I feel that. I mean, obviously the machine is behind him for sure, and you got to imagine the UFC thinks he can get this one done for sure. But you mentioned the stand-up aspect of Bo Nickel versus the Bear Jew in that last fight, and obviously it wasn't the most fluid or interesting fight on the feet, but nonetheless, Bo Nickel did win. He did have better stand-up than Paul Craig. I just wonder if that same sort of game plan will work against RDR, who, in my opinion, is a much more dangerous and competent striker when compared to the Bear Jew. So if Bo Nickel tries to play that game, I think it's going to be bad news for him. And ultimately, I see him going for the immediate takedown and going to the well that he's very familiar with. The question is going to be, is Rene DeRitter able to deal with it or not? And I think we will know very early in the contest whether he can deal with it or not. I personally think he will, Meat Boy. I'm actually rolling with Tapology. I'm taking the dog in this one. I slept on RDR. I thought Kevin Holland was going to finish him easy light work, and Rene DeRitter actually did that to him. So I've been convinced now that this guy is pretty well rounded, and I didn't see enough from Bo Nickel from the well rounded arena to pick him in this fight against RDR in the co meet. So I say it's a setback for the Nickel hype train. Rene DeRitter continues his, and ultimately, I think he gets a finish in this co meet as a sizable dog. Am I tripping, or do you too think that this fight is a little bit closer than what the odds are suggesting?
Yeah, I mean the odds are absolutely crazy, and that is honestly juicy. I think this is gonna be for sure Bo Nickel's hardest fight yet. So if however you thought the Bear Jew versus Bo Nickel fight went, if good or bad, just imagine it's gonna be more difficult than that. So take that as you will. But yeah, the odds are absolutely absurd.
Yeah, juicy for sure. Let us know in the comments if you are rolling with Bo Nichols. Does he stay undefeated, or is Renee DeRitter going to find a way to get this one done as a juicy dog? But nonetheless, me boy, swap us through, and I don't want to switch the tone to a melancholy one, but it's a meat event opportunity for your boy Davison Figueiredo, Deus de Guerrero, to get back on track because the last time we saw him, he got absolutely smoked by Peter Yan, and it was one of those things where a lot of people, I think ourselves included, thought that Figgy was back, right? He had three amazing wins in a row. He took out Rob Font. He smoked Cody Garbrandt. Easy light work victory over Cheeto Vera, but he ran into Peter Yan, and the hype train was kind of derailed. And Now, if you look at the odds for this one, you would think that Figgy's coming in off a 10-fight losing streak, the way that these odds have absolutely swelled in Sandhagen's favor. And who knows if that's partly to do with the narrative heading into this one, whether it's the fat Figgy accusations or the unflattering side profile photos that have been leaking of Figgy. But these odds are crazy, and they're essentially saying, they're suggesting at least, that Corey Sandhagen's going to come and make easy, light work of your boy Davison Figueiredo. So is Figgy Dunzo Balunzo? Is he getting back on track? Is he just utilizing some clever marketing and some duplicative angles to convince everyone that he's truly out of shape when maybe he actually isn't? Or is he out of shape and the Figgy story, unfortunately, is done?
It's a great question. And man, Figgy's looking extra thick recently, and Sandhagen is looking pretty wise. EQ and IQ definitely leveled up, I can tell. I just don't know, but obviously Figgy is going to bash the pulp out of him, knock him out, break the brittle bones. Hey Corey, you need to be a 185er, dummy. Like you're too tall for that division, you brittle boy. And Figgy's gonna expose that.
Yeah, good stuff. I was hard pressed to believe that you would pick against Figgy, given that he is your boy and you were riding him when it was unpopular, right? You were picking Figgy in fights that no one else was, and now we're kind of on the other end of that spectrum, and it seems you're back there picking Figgy when no one else will. So if you are taking him over Hand Sagan Sanitizer Sanhagen, how do you think he's going to get this one done? Is Figgy going to be able to get takedowns and maybe even utilize one of those gnarly submissions that he has over Sandhagen? Is he going to have advantages on the feet? I mean, I understand that you rep Figgy to the absolute end, but when really dissecting the methods of victory, how do you anticipate Figgy winning this fight against Sandhagen? Where will he be better than Hand Sagentizer?
Yeah, I think Hans Sagentizer is, he's a great fighter. He's sweet to watch. But in recent times, I'm not sure if anyone's noticed or if anyone is looking at it like I am, but it seems like that that like it factor, the flying knee, the flashy cool stuff. He's kind of become a wrestler, a safe play. He fights to win versus fighting for to knock him out. Like he's fighting to be safe and go decision. Like he doesn't go for the kill. He used to be knocking people out, spinning heel kick, flying knee. When was the last time we've seen that? It's been a whole lot of wrestling versus non-wrestlers, and obviously wrestling more versus wrestlers. And he's a great all-around fighter, very good. But I don't think he's gonna want to stand and bang with Figgy. I think he's gonna mix it up, and I think Figgy is good enough to stuff and demolish him, stand up on the ground no matter where, especially if it hits the mat. Like, there's not many people that are better at grappling than Figgy beyond like the Dagestan Bros or Marab, most likely. Like, they would probably ragdoll Figgy, but other than that, like, it's hard for me to believe that Corey's gonna be better than Figgy on the ground. So, will Corey try to stand up? But he hasn't been standing up, not even versus non-strikers. So it's like, I don't know. We'll see, but I think Figgy's got this one pretty easily, and I love seeing these odds.
Yeah, you bring up some good points. I mean, Corey Sandhagen, for sure, the last few years has utilized his wrestling game a lot more. In this fight, though, I don't know. I just see the size really sort of bothering Figueiredo. And if Figueiredo's whole game plan is to sort of get close and get takedowns, I see the Sandman as finding ways to sort of stiff arm the mini Mendez like attacks coming his way and ultimately keep this fight standing where I see him having the advantage. He's going to be longer. I think he's going to have better kicks, and I just see Corey Sandhagen using that EQ, using that IQ, that choice center sort of appeal to really dominate this fight on the feet. And I mean, if you just look at it, Meat Boy, like you said, Corey Sandhagen's 6 foot, massive for the division. Davison Figueiredo, you see what I'm seeing. 5'5", and we know what 5'5" means. it means 5-2. So I think 5-2 Figgy is getting smoked in this one by Sandhagen. I don't see him getting many takedowns, and in so doing, I see Sandhagen cruising to a easy light work decision in this one. But I'm hopeful that someone can pick up a finish in this one, whether it's a Sandhagen flying knee, rediscovering that finishing sauce, or Figgy getting a takedown and maybe securing a gnarly submission like you're suggesting. But I hope we see a finish. I don't think we will. I like Sandhagen by decision, however. If you are taking Figgy, are you going to be bullish and say he finishes the Sandman?
Yeah, I think Figgy does finish the Sandman. I mean, obviously he can go decision and he can win that way too, but I just think Figgy is ruthless, and you know, it might be not a good thing, but I think it might be a good thing because Figgy's looking pretty big, right? It's a little alarming, but I think honestly, it wasn't his fault. Um, it was, his kids probably, I think, needed a meatball sandwich, and this was the result of that because he didn't make it home to feed the kid. He ate it because it was so dang delicious. If you've ever had a meatball sandwich, highly recommend get one. And so I think Figgy's gonna have a meatball sandwich performance, and that's a 50-50. It's either a meatball knockout or a meatball sleeper, and Figgy gets absolutely ragdolled. I'm gonna pick that Figgy's coming in with some extra meatball power, and I think he's gonna get the KO.
Yeah, great points. It could be a meatball sandwich situation for sure. Ultimately, however, I see Figueiredo getting smoked in this one. I'm going to take Sandhagen to win a decision, but I think that it's not going to be crazy to suggest that Figgy doesn't even fight this weekend, Meat Boy. Just check in on Meat Boy MMA, maybe Friday night, maybe Saturday morning. Let's see what Figgy looks like at the ceremonials, at the official weigh-ins, I suppose, and let's see if we aren't getting Corey Sandhagen versus Montel Jackson in the actual main event come Saturday night, because we'll see if it's smoke and mirrors or if it's meat and balls for sure. But I say Corey Sandhagen, whoever he fights, if it is in fact Figgy, I don't like it going Deguretta's way anyway. So nonetheless, boy, UFC Iowa, that's it. We broke down 5. Last week wasn't really our week. This week, however, are we going 5-0? Is the MEATLOCK getting back on track? What are your overall predictions for UFC Iowa?
Well, this is a Figgy card. That means Meat goes 5-0. That's a fact. And when he's got a meatball sandwich, he better make that weight, or I'm gonna be pissed. Because then the card is ruined.
Yeah, for sure. The cards will be ruined for sure if Figgy goes down. Ultimately, I think that he's going to be the smother man of too many meatball sandwiches, and Corey Sandhagen takes it with ease. But nonetheless, I think you go 4-1 meatball. I think I do as well. Meatlock cashes with ease, though. I don't see a world where D-Rod wins a fight against Ponzinibbio or wins a fight over anyone in the UFC anymore. And Global Fight Network is likely what is next for D-Rod. So, any last thoughts on UFC Hour, meatball?
No, a great card, fun fights. Check them out. Yeah.